What's going on, everybody? Jeff Holiday here, and I am joined with Penny Holiday. This is our new puppy. She's a golden retriever, and she's the sweetest thing in the world, actually. I'm a big fan. Now, unfortunately, she just had the zoomies. Oh, you had the zoomies? And now you're all sleepy. You say something for the people? No? Oh, she's sleepy. So Penny is going to be very highly trained to be a pro-science quack-busting dog. We're going to teach you all the techniques, all of the tools of the trade. That's right, my young Padawan friend. Anyway, today we're going to have a very simple, fun little video because I'm exhausted because I have a new puppy and I'm not sleeping too good. And we are going to be looking at some comments that you guys left me when I asked a question about 4 months ago. I guess you could call this 4 months ago I asked you. Whatever that's supposed to sound like. Yeah, that. So 4 months ago I asked you, have you ever fallen prey to pseudoscience or New Age-style treatments and cures? I'm curious because I myself have experienced this. If so, please vote below. Like the post and leave a comment on your experiences so we can all feel a little less foolish. It happens to the best of us. And it does, and that's the truth. I mean, I talk a lot about science and busting down silly, dangerous beliefs, but I too believed in quite a few of these things. And you guys left me a lot of comments, and they were quite illuminating. So I thought I would share some, and we can talk about them today. With Penny. Yeah. The vegan villainous. When I got gallstones, I found an article online that said to drink a glass of water and oil. Man, that was the worst advice ever. I immediately had a horrible gallbladder attack, and the next day I scheduled an appointment with the doctor to go get surgery. I swear, there are people out there who either want to harm people or spew BS for attention. Yeah, chugging down like water and oil is not a very good idea. That is a quick way to, having probably the shits or vomiting a lot, and gallbladder attacks are not something you want to mess around with. But as far as people who are out there who either want to harm people intentionally or spew BS for attention, I mean, it's rare that you find somebody who is intentionally trying to harm other people. Usually they just don't care. Probably because they're getting paid. Or attention. Woody B. My grandmother sent me to Lourdes, France to be cured of my asthma. The only thing that came of that trip was I came down with a serious case of bronchitis. Catholic magic didn't work. Nobody's surprised about that. But at least you got a trip to France out of it. That's pretty cool. When I was in 4th or 5th grade, my mom got a book by Sylvia Browne. Hey, Sylvia Browne! Uncle Ted did a video about that. If I remember too, then there will be a link up here if you want to watch that video. I ate that shit up. I legit thought that I was psychic. It, along with some traumatic experiences and just a general predisposition, led me to believing a lot of things that clearly weren't reality. I believed characters from a very fiction series of books were real from like 4th to 6th grade. I called myself an eclectic Wiccan in high school. I had an altar and cast spells, and crystals were my shit. I had a tarot cards. I got sucked into modern medicine is bad. It made me extra afraid to take my psychiatric medication. And this is pretty common. This actually happens to a lot of people. I myself, for a while, was kind of paranoid about having any type of regular prescribed by the medical industry medicine. Usually because I was listening to somebody with garbage opinions. That resulted in me refusing to take a dose that did more than take the edge off, leading to a ton of suffering, mental health crises, and a hospital stay. To this day, I still use the cards, and I still like pretty rocks, but I recognize that tarot cards are more sort of therapy, and rocks are good for meditation and visualization. But I know it doesn't affect anything now. It's just for me. Part of me still wants to believe. A lot less of me wants to, since I saw the ugliest side of that pseudoscience desperation from my stepsister when my stepmom had cancer. As an example, she blamed her cancer on my dad taking his Parkinson's medication. That really made me turn my back for good on that world. That's a pretty intense one, and that is pretty nutty. But the thing is, when you are immersed in this kind of a culture, and your family is also kind of reinforcing it, that's not an easy position to be in. Especially when you yourself start questioning it, you can get a lot of pushback. You know, it can be the same thing as if you decide that a religion that you have been a part of with your family for years just isn't what you want to be a part of anymore. That's very, very common, and I'm glad that you managed to get out of it. My family was into homeopathy without knowing it was homeopathy. Thank you, marketing. Yeah, that happens a lot. Supermarkets. Supermarkets are the worst about it. I also believed in the law of attraction and a bunch of other garbage, though very loosely. I hadn't heard a good argument against any of these things. It was just the way things were. It wasn't until I found James Randi that I checked my cold medication and found it was homeopathic and poisonous. James Randi is pretty much the GOAT. He is incredible. He not only is it amazing because of what he's done in his lifetime, but the people that he has inspired so far to think critically and to also aggressively go and bust quack wingnut science. He's awesome. But yeah, homeopathy, you can very easily fall into it without understanding what it is. If you've never had the word itself explained to you. Also, many times people will use the term homeopathy and they don't actually mean homeopathy, they mean something else. I think that also is a very clever way of them marketing and hiding the fact that it is basically magic water. I'm a massage therapist. Before going to school for it and getting my state board certification, I used to think that I was heavily into it. Mainly meditation, mind and body exercises, and some homeopathic remedies, but never in place of seeing a physician if the case warranted it. Then I went to school for it and saw some of the quacks that are in the field. Now I'm not surprised why everyone assumes that a massage therapist is another name for an anti-vax hooker that smells good and wears crystals. That was beautifully written. I really like that. It was also the deal sealer on going back to school from a physical therapy assistant now. Well, that's awesome. Yeah, the culture of like massage therapy here in Eugene is very much like that. A lot of alternative woo-woo healing crystal practitioners. And for the most part, they're very nice people, but they believe in this stuff a lot more than they're able to prove any of it, which is none of it. I was Wiccan for a while. I think part of what drove me to it was a love of history. Not that Wicca has anything to do with history past about, what, the 1970s? Yeah, that's about right. And a want for religion. I think I was just meant to be agnostic. Dedicated religion really does not call to me. I still mess around with tarot cards because I do actually love the history behind them and figuring out scenarios to fit the meanings of different card combinations makes for a great beginning to storytelling. But natural cures aren't for me. My insomnia and asthma are too bad for gentle herbal treatments to solve them. You know, there were quite a few people who were mentioning tarot cards, and I tend to see tarot cards and astrology in very similar veins. There was, I think it was like a dating app at one point, and they had options for astrology, and the one that I chose was, I don't believe in it, but it's fun to think about. And that's how I feel about it. As long as you're not trying to base really huge life decisions on what you think the stars measured from one singular point that has no actual real bearing on cosmology would say, or what the random chance of turning over cards is, as long as you're just doing it because you think it's fun or it helps you gain a different perspective on something that you're doing, I think it's totally harmless. My mom made me do homeopathy and brought me to a natural healer for my acne for a whole year before letting me get actual treatment. I got way worse scars as a result. Even things where the pseudoscience quacks aren't actually hurting anyone still have an effect on your life. I'd love to see you do a video on the Irish cures, as I've also had that too. That's not too much about it online. I'd be happy to explain if you need me to. So when I was a teenager, had horrendously bad acne. Really, really bad. And I had to go to a dermatologist, and they prescribed me everything they possibly could. Nothing was working, and I ended up having to go on a medicine called Accutane. I do not recommend Accutane. As somebody who had to take it for 6 months, it was absolutely devastating. It can lead to permanent damage of your liver. Huge chunks of dried skin were falling off me. My lips were split, sometimes like 10, 15 times, like places, constantly. It looked like I was wearing black lipstick. It just dries you out. It worked, but it was one of the most uncomfortable and painful experiences of my life. So I can't really recommend it, but I know your struggle, and I know the struggle of people who have horrendous breakouts. It's rough. As far as Irish cures, I'm not really sure what you mean by that, but if any of you have any suggestions for videos or things to look into, you can always message me, jeff@jeffholiday.com. My therapist used crystals and magnets during guided meditations and such. I went along with it because it wouldn't hurt or hinder the meditative process. It was kind of nice to have something in my hands when worked together. I still have the magnet. I don't really have a problem with these things either. It's usually, some might say placebo. I like to think of the word psychosomatic, and ultimately, does it really do anything? No, probably not. But if it is used in a manner that helps you focus, and, again, especially when it comes to therapy or guided meditation, if it helps and it's not doing any harm, and you can just be like, well, for some reason I just jive with this thing while we're doing this, who cares? It's good. Good for you. I'm glad it works. While I was serving in the Marine Corps, I was introduced to this person who said she could cure my PTSD. Anytime somebody says that, you know you need to run far away. This was post-deployment, so after having been on meds for 3 months and seemingly having no positive results from the meds, I said sure. I remember walking into her house. She was a hoarder and a prior doctor of psychiatry. Oh man. Oh boy. She had been to med school, but was now talking about how loathsome the psychological community had become. Anyway, her process of curing me was for me to hold these 2 metal rods that pulsed at varying frequencies. The frequencies and how often they pulsed, as well as how high the frequencies or low she controlled. She wanted me to do this frequency therapy 3 times a day for the foreseeable future at a cost of $250 per session. She also wanted me to give up meat entirely, as meat has negative energies that create a field of reverse effects on our frequencies, or something near that is what she said. After that first visit, which cost me $200, I ran as fast as I could back to my doctor. I've not heard or seen anything of her for almost 7 years now. That is wild. That is absolutely wild. And it's also far too common. It's just interesting when people who are going to sell these... Oh yes, big yawn. When people are going to sell these like cartoonish cures, it's rare when they're just so outwardly cartoony, At least there's that, You can look at that and laugh at how ridiculous it is, but then you stop laughing when you realize that sometimes people are just desperate, and even if it looks ridiculous, they might still want to give it a try because they don't have anything else to try. But I'm glad you got out of that. I used to be really depressed and obsessed with my own mortality. I would convince myself I had some condition and research how to treat it. Due to my mental illness, I believed I had a terminal illness and read that human breast milk could treat it and started researching how to find it, which is how I discovered some interesting websites. Oh boy. By the end of it all, I realized I was fine and healthy and forgot all about it. When I found your channel, I remembered what it was like to think I was dying. Seeing doctors give realistic and scientific answers made the hopelessness worse, but the grifters made promises that made me feel better. And I realized the kind of sick, insidious person it takes to look at someone who is certain their end is close and lie to them for profit. So fuck them. Oh my god, you're so cute. So fuck them. There's no shame in being tricked when you're desperate. There's a lot of shame in tricking desperate people. I couldn't agree more, and that's very, very well put. It's the same thing I try and repeat as often as I can to anybody who will listen. When people fall prey to these types of things, even anti-vax stuff, I don't hate those people, and I try not to necessarily shame them if I can avoid it. But the moment that they turn around and start trying to amplify and echo it and give it credence, then you're actually becoming part of the problem. You're becoming in line with these people who are preying on the vulnerable. This one's a twofer. Yeah, I purchased those stupid foot pads that are supposed to draw out toxins. I can't believe that stores sell that stupid shit. I can't believe stupid me purchased it. Bonus points if you've ever heard somebody say just sticking onions in your socks will draw out toxins as well. That one's one of my favorite. I think I've heard people do lemons too. Yeah. I was working in the supplement department of a natural grocery when I contracted a double ear infection. Instead of going to the doc, I used all the pseudo-magic treatments we sold. When I finally went to an actual specialist, I found out my eardrums were slowly being eaten by fungus. Don't get eaten by fungus. Go to the doctor. Yeah, Penny says you should go to the doctor too. If you've got a problem with your ears, and she would know all about ears, look at these ears, go to the doctor. And also, if you're going to be getting any kind of treatments in a grocery store, check the box. Make sure it doesn't say homeopathy on it, because they're everywhere, and they're not always necessarily just in the natural cures aisle. Sometimes they're mixed in with like regular medicine, and you would have otherwise no idea. I went to a chiropractor through most of my adolescence for recurring migraines. I was convinced he was helping relieve them with his spinal adjustments. Turns out I had ADHD, and the problem was chemical, not mechanical. Basically, his adjustments were just painful enough to distract me from the pain in my head. Again, another really common problem, especially when it comes to chiropractors. However, there is a pretty amazing chiropractor on TikTok that I found, and I'm just trying to share this guy's content as much as I possibly can. So here's a quick snippet, and if you do any of the TikToking, that's what the kids do these days, right? You should probably go watch this dude's videos. They're great.
I have legit PTSD from that board in that video. Back when I was a chiropractic student, I had to use that thing all the time during my clinical internship rotations. Let me preface the story by saying that board doesn't do anything. He actually uses an activator too on that guy's foot right before the clip that I pulled for this stitch. Literally, this does nothing. Hit me right in the eye. It does nothing. So when you're in clinical internship, you have to do what your preceptor says. And my preceptor always made me adjust people with that stupid board. In chiro, it's called a Thule board or a speeder board. Every time I used it, I felt like such a clown. Literally, all you do is put whatever joint you're treating on top of the board and then push down, and the board gives way. Two pieces of wood smack together, and that's what makes that loud noise. That's it. And every time I would do it to a patient who had never had it done before, they would be so confused. They would look at me and be like, what does this do? It got to the point where I would literally look them dead in the face and just say, I don't know, man, nothing. 6 million views on that video. I'm dead inside.
Yeah, Penny likes them too. I was sent to a chiropractor for a lot of my life, kept going until I was maybe 25. I had issues with pain from young teens and was diagnosed with fibromyalgia at 21. I was studying a Bachelor of Science and still never realized the level of pseudoscience and bollocks it was. But every time I went, I felt so ill afterwards from the spinal manipulation. I eventually saw a YouTube video about what crap chiropractors are, and it made a lot of sense. I'm disappointed at myself for not looking into it sooner, even with the background in science. No wonder people are fooled. One of the biggest problems when it comes to chiropractors and homeopathy and naturopaths and things like that, there are so many of them that if you're just living your life throughout your day, you would have no reason to think that there's a problem with this. I mean, they're everywhere, so of course they have to be real, right? Right? No. A few years ago, my mother recommended me an assessant. I know, you just want to get through this so you can take a nap. I'm sorry. A few years ago, my mother recommended me an essential oils seminar. After that seminar, I really thought that they were the miracle cure for everything. A couple years later, my grandmother's health started to go downhill. She needed a pacemaker, which was diagnosed with cancer, dementia, and type 2 diabetes. When I went to another seminar, the trainer said he can cure her, but that she shouldn't have gotten the pacemaker. I was like, what the fuck? She needs that to keep her heart beating. Are you insane? After that experience, I don't want to see any snake oil treatment again. That is totally understandable, absolutely. Yeah, somebody who is trying to teach you all about the magic of secret oils, saying that he can cure your family member's cancer, and big warning sign. Oh yeah, I'm glad you were smart enough to realize that. Okay, sleepy dog, this is the last one. Yeah, this is the last one, then I'm gonna tuck you in, and you can go to sleep. Thank you. I was into the New Age manifestation and crystal stuff in 2011 to 2012 as a cope for depression. At best, manifestation is like pop psychology. Fake it till you make it kind of strategy, but it easily leads people towards fantastical thinking, like the universe only cares what kind of vibes you put out, not whether you're making smart life choices. So this is where I have to admit to something. I fell really hard for what the bleep do we know, and intention and manifestation and that sort of thing. I don't think that there's anything wrong necessarily in trying to put yourself in a mental position where you're going to go and try and get the things that you want to get. However, people take it to a absolutely bonkers religious level, to a point where they sometimes will manifest it and they don't use that manifestation as inspiration to go and do the thing, to get the thing that they want. Instead, they're just like, I'm going to wish it so. And then you also get people preying on them like, your vibration is just not on the right vibration, man. So you need to learn how to vibrate in a better vibration, man. And that's why. And if you want to learn how to vibrate, how I'm vibrating to get your vibration thing on, then pay me for this online seminar thing, you know? And that happens all the time. Also, the movie The Secret is garbage. It also primes you to believe any miracle cures that get presented to you are the universe guiding you towards things that will help. So I started taking nootropics and some weird mushroom pills that I found at a spiritual expo. That is 100% like how it gets phrased. You know, hey, you found on Facebook this amazing like alternative cure sort of thing. It must be the universe, man, telling you that's what you need to take to fix all your problems, man. And then next thing you know, you're all screwed up. Ultimately failed to lift me out of my depressing situation, though. Eventually quit school and left my dad's place after a complete nervous breakdown. Kept the crystals, though. I just don't pretend they're anything other than cool rocks that I like to look at. I will admit, even now as like hardcore science nerd as I am, I have many pretty rocks. I do. I like them. I don't think anybody should feel bad about liking pretty rocks and pretty crystals. It's okay. As long as you don't like, I don't know, try and put them up your dying grandmother's butt to cure cancer, like whatever. Enjoy your rocks. It's fine. It's totally fine. But yeah, usually when somebody is dealing with a mental health crisis, the key is not to be seeking out alternative cures. The key is to be seeking out some type of treatment from somebody who is in some way qualified and can help you, and finding eventually some sort of process that will work. Sometimes that process ultimately just comes down to you, but there are no easy cures. There are no easy cures, and that's coming from somebody who dealt with depression for over a decade and a half. Yeah, and still do sometimes here and there, but it did get better. Okay, you have been farting on me this whole time. So I wanted to thank you guys very much for your comments. Very, very sweet. Penny appreciates it too, don't you? Yes, I do. And I wanted to make an offer. If you'd like to leave a comment on this video, probably not in 4 months, probably a lot sooner, I would like to, I'll make a video about it. I'd like to hear what is your favorite obscure science fact, something that you know about that maybe not most people do, and it's either interesting or weird or bizarre. And we'll make a video and we'll just talk about it. So when we're having a lazy day with a lazy puppy, yeah, then we can at least have some fun, wholesome little content in between all of the terrible things that we have to talk about on this channel. From my family to yours, my family now including Penny, thank you so much for your attention. Take care of yourselves, take care of them, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye, everybody. Bye-bye.